Welcome, everyone. We are delighted that you are with us this evening. We want to thank everyone who's a part of this conversation, and we are just absolutely delighted that you are with us this evening. But we first want to begin in prayer this night, and so let us go to God in prayer at this moment. O God, in whom we live, move, and have our being, we offer thanks for the wisdom and blessings found in the Journal for Jordan. May the legacy and lessons of Charles Monroe King, the witness of Dana Canedy, and the artistry of Denzel Washington and the writing of Virgil Williams find permanent harbor upon the hearts of those thirsty for hope and healing in this world. We thank thee for your love and transformative power. In your Son's name, we offer this prayer. And the people of God who love God may say, Amen. Again, we thank each of you for being with us this evening. We have an incredible group of people who will be with us. We have the writer, the screenwriter of Journal for Jordan, Brother Virgil Williams. Virgil Williams also is the writer of the Netflix film Mudbound, which was also nominated for an Oscar. He began his work on the show 24 and ER, and we are delighted that he is with us. Also this evening, we have Pulitzer Prize winning author, none other than Dana Canedy. We are so delighted she is with us. She's now the senior vice president of Simon & Schuster, and I'm glad to say that I'm a part of the Simon & Schuster family, and she is an absolutely gifted writer and journalist. And her wonderful book, if you've not read it, is something that you need to have in your library. And we also have one of the most celebrated artists of this era, actor, director, and producer, and man of faith, none other than Brother Denzel Washington, who is the director of Journal for Jordan. And we are excited to have this incredible panel with us on this evening. Thank you all for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
It is a real delight. I want to begin just speaking with you, Sister Canedy, and you, Brother Washington, and ask you, how did the project Journal for Jordan come about?
Take your mute off, Denzel. Unmute yourself.
Right.
There you go.
Like I said, I'm BC. I'm before computers. How many years ago was it, Dana?
It was 13 years ago. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you tell the story, Dana.
You tell it.
Well, because it started with you before I got involved.
Okay. So Denzel's amazing collaborator, producer, partner, a wonderful man by the name of Todd Black, first read about our story in the New York Times and took it to Denzel. This was before I wrote the book. I was just starting to think about writing the book. And Denzel and a team got in touch with me and said they might be interested in the project. And he invited us out to the set of one of his movies. And I said, because I had said, look, the main thing here is that there is a real Jordan, a little boy who lost his father behind this. And Jordan was 3 years old at the time. And we went out and spent the day with Todd and Denzel on the set. And Denzel carried Jordan around the set all day. And he showed pictures of his own family to Jordan. And I watched them together and it just melted my heart. And I knew Denzel was a man of faith. I knew he was the best at what he does in the movie business. And so I knew we were in good hands.
So maybe a year or so after, not even that long, after Todd met with Dana, he came to me and we talked about it. And it really was a 10 Virgil year process before we got, 10-year process, 2000. Yep. 10-year process before Todd, again, not me, I give Todd the credit where it's due, found Virgil and they worked together on a new script, which we got in 2018. And I read it and was very, very moved by it, just as people are being moved by the film. And I said, well, this is good. I'll direct this. I wasn't even, I was thinking about producing it, but I'm glad that I got the opportunity to share And
Now, I'm glad you brought up Brother Williams. I was curious, since you were shepherding the work of Sister Canedy. How long, one, did it take for you to create the script, and how did you capture Sister Kennedy's voice?
Uh, it must have depended. There are so many first drafts.
Mhm.
It must have taken to get to the draft that we could show Denzel. It took pushing a year, give or take. Give or take. Todd and I were going back and forth, and writing is rewriting. So that took about a year. And the second part of your question, I'm sorry. I have
Capturing the voice of Sister Dana Canedy, yes.
So Dana, I mean, I spent days with Dana. I flew to New York and hung out with her in Jordan and went to the apartment where Charles was and touched the journal, the real journal, and spent time. You know, I have a wife and two daughters, so I'm in a house full of women. So I have learned to listen. And that was what helped me get through all of that, was just listening to this woman and absorbing her. That's part of the skill set that I have grown during my time here out here in Hollywood. It was Dana. I credit Dana with opening her heart and opening her life, and welcome. I mean, we're family now. I mean,
Yes.
that's my big sis. Like that's my family. So
For life.
yes, no doubt. And if she had not, I've found her voice because she availed her heart to me.
Thank you for that. Now we have a guest that wants to come in right now. We have a wonderful young lady. She's in 8th grade, and she is a straight A student by the name of Sanaa Shaw. And Sanaa has a question that she wants to ask tonight.
Yeah, hi. It's nice to meet you all. And my question is, were any words of wisdom or advice in the movie, is that related to advice to any advice that you from your own son? So like advice, is that related or inspired from your own son? So is there any connection to that at all?
For my son?
Or just anybody, just in children in general?
So I hope that there's a lot of advice in the movie for young people. But first of all, let me say that in 8th grade, at your age, I would not have been confident enough to come into a group like this and ask a question. So I commend you for that, for your confidence and your poise. In terms of the students, who may be listening, I would say that the takeaway for young people in the movie would be to really hold on to your parents, get to know them, get to know their stories. I think that's one of the messages in the book. And I think that my Charles wrote a lot to Jordan through the journal about respecting women. And it's funny because we have women all over this country now making this hashtag go viral. It's hashtag find your Charles, because the idea there is don't lower your standards. Find a partner, find a husband, a man who will respect you, respect women, has loyalty and decency, and stands for something other than himself, and who is a prayerful man. And I have a list of the characteristics I wanted in a man in my Bible. And when I pulled them out and looked at them, I knew that Charles was the man I should marry.
Beautiful. Brother Washington, Brother Williams, to Sister Sanaa's question.
Go ahead, Virgil.
I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter. And my 15-year-old daughter is in the throes of being 15. So she doesn't say much. But in that movie, she cried her eyes out. And I turned and watched her. We talked afterwards. My biggest thing for her is love and love now. And love hard. Do not wait. Do not wait, because time is finite. And that's a hard concept for teenagers to wrap their heads around. Y'all think you're going to live forever. And those are the biggest things for her. Express your love, show your love, and let it bloom, because it can be scary, because the heart is a fragile thing. So we do things to protect it. And sometimes we do too much to
Mhm.
protect it because it will heal. And it is, though fragile, it is ultimately unbreakable should you commit to it and have a steady dose of faith. But love now and love hard and do not wait.
God is love.
Mm.
God is light. He shines his light and his love through us, and we share his love with the world. In this time, at this time, when we are spiritually on shaky ground, I believe from a spiritual perspective that God is talking to us now. He's shut all of us up. He's given us this plague, if you will, and told each and every one of us to go back to our tents all around the world in an instant. And he said to us, in my humble opinion, take a look at yourself, take a look at your family, take a look at those that you love. Appreciate them because God is love. And from my perspective, on a spiritual perspective, he said, once you go outside again, when I let you, if you don't take care of your fellow man or woman, it can kill you. Mass distancing, all of those things, or it can kill them. So God is love, young lady. And I start everything I do in prayer. We started this movie in prayer. We started the first day of shooting in prayer. God is love. And without purpose, there's no existence. So find your purpose in your life, whatever it is you love, whatever you're passionate about. And you don't have to know at what, 15 years old? You don't have to know. But true desire in the heart for anything good is God's proof sent beforehand to indicate that it's yours already in the limitless realm of supply and demand. And anything you want, you can have for the taking. I always say anything good you want, you can have for the taking. So pray about it, love hard, love those close to you, listen to your parents. Hopefully they're both there. And I know we'll hear from you.
Sanaa, thank you so much, and tell your mother and father we said thank you. And just so that you all know, Sanaa is a part of our confirmation class. She's learning about her faith and learning about her history, and she's just an amazing young person, as you can see. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Take care. Brother Washington, you mentioned how you all started in prayer and on this project. And I'm curious because it seems, and I could be wrong, but many of the projects that you were drawn to, there's always particular values and themes. Maybe a character that's facing their fears and has to overcome that, or a great sacrifice that person has to make. Not only what drove you to this project, but when you are directing and producing, what are the elements that draw you to a project?
There's no one size fits all. In this case, I don't always know right away. That's why they call it development. What Virgil did touched me, and Dana touched me. And I didn't, like I said, I wasn't planning on directing it, and I didn't know where I was going to go with it. So I prayed a lot about it, and I understood and learned from their work that this was a healing. I learned from Dana that this was an opportunity to heal. To first of all, this man is a real American hero in a time that we live in where that's a overused word. He's a real hero that made the ultimate sacrifice and loved hard. He was joined, as God would have it, with this woman of faith, and they grew together in their faith. And this is a faithful movie. I'm unashamed to say it. It's faithful. I put as many prayers in there as I could. I just had folks praying because we need a healing. It's quite simple. We need a healing, and I believe that that's what this film does. It's hard, though.
I can imagine, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sister Canedy, you were giving a part of yourself, turning this over, not only writing in the process of writing, but turning over this story. What rested heavy with you in a beautiful way that when either you witnessed the movie or in the process, that you knew that there was something beyond you that was happening?
It actually started when I was 12 years old, believe it or not. I
Mm.
started writing at that age, and it was always healing for me to write. And in my high school memory book, it said, "What will you be doing in 10 years?" And I said, "I'll be living in New York as a writer." And when I went to journalism school. When I got my first job out of college, I used to place my fingers, my hands on the keyboard and pray and say, "God, you blessed me with this amazing talent. Please let me use it to your good." And I've done a lot of things in my career, written a lot of things that got a lot of attention. And I thought, that's not it. It was this book. And I realized, in meeting Charles and the fact that I've always been very secure and confident professionally, but not very secure personally. So I didn't think this good man was going to want me and stay. So I pushed him away for years. And he kept coming back. And I thought, gosh, he became my Linus blanket, if you will, after a time. But the combination of that early writing and his loyalty brought me to a place where I realized, my gosh, God wants us to be together. And now what I know in hindsight, Reverend, is that all of this was written for me as part of my life story before I even knew it. Charles was the happiest he'd ever been at the end of his life. I tell our son all the time, we will all leave this world, but very few people die a hero. Not only did he die a hero's death, but he died incredibly happy and left me to raise this incredible son of ours, but also to tell this story, which has helped to heal people. I could tell you story after story where God's presence, has been palpable for me in terms of the impact of the story on other people. So this isn't really about me. I'm blessed to be used as a vehicle. I don't know what I ever did to deserve that, to be, with Charles and to be Jordan's mom and to tell this story. It was all intentional and out of my control and in the hands of Almighty God, frankly.
Mm. Now, I heard a story, Brother Washington, in terms of the choices that you made in the film, specifically where to film, that you were praying, and I believe that you saw some deer in a field, and it became very
Yeah,
clear.
many small miracles.
Yes.
We were trying to get one shot toward the end of the evening, and it just wasn't working. And the director of photography, there was a place up the road from where we were, and I said, I think we should be up there. And she says, no, I think it's better here. But we just couldn't get the shot. The camera was gone, just couldn't get the shot. So the next day we came out, and she had moved the camera up the road there a bit. She said, I think it's better here. Well, actually, no, it was up there by a bush. And she said, oh, what is that? The burning bush, huh? She made a little joke about the burning bush. I said, well, watch it now. But yeah, up there. So the next day we get to work, and the shot didn't work at the end of the day. So we left. Next day we went to work. She put the camera up there, and I'm looking down back toward the fort, and I look across and I go, oh, she had lined it up right where that bush was. And she didn't know it. I said, the bush is right there. It just small miracle after small miracle. I forget to set my alarm clock and wake up right on time and get a word from God as to what to do that day. And it was just a prayerful experience.
But tell them about the deer, D.
Oh, the deer. Yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. So when we were at Arlington, I was out there about 4:00 in the morning, trying to figure out where I was going to shoot the final scene. So I started calling on Charles. I said, now, where do you want me to go, Charles? What? So I walked up, and there was a group of deer sitting or eating, and they're just looking at me and very calm. And I started walking toward them, and they didn't move. And I said, Charles, is this where you want me to be, right here? And they're just looking at me, and then they started moving off. So we shot the last scene. We put his tombstone right where the deer were, right under the tree. So I told Dana, and she told me, go ahead, Dana.
So Charles is actually buried in Cleveland because he wanted to be in Arlington, but his mother said, I need to be able to visit my baby. And I understood that. So Denzel was met by this group of deer in Arlington when we were shooting there. And when he called and told me, I said, you're kidding. Because the last time I took Jordan to visit his father in a cemetery in Cleveland, I was worried. We hadn't been there and for quite a number of years. I was worried. He's older now. How is he going to take this? He was worried about me. And we're looking at each other as a friend is driving us into the cemetery. And suddenly Jordan got very excited and we both got very calm because under a tree was sitting 3 deer. I have so many stories like that I could share. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Thank you all for sharing that. I want to just shift gears just a little bit in terms of talking about the cast, that you have some really gifted people in the film that do such a wonderful job, from Michael B. Jordan to Shantae Adams, and the young man who plays Jordan, who did such a wonderful job. Do you direct younger people differently than, say, someone who is older and more seasoned?
I know it when I see it. I met a woman by the name of Viola Davis, and I knew it, and I put her in Antoine Fisher. I knew it when I met young Sanaya Sidney and put her in Fences. I knew it when I met Nate Parker. I knew it when I met Derek Luke. I know it when I see it. I always tell people when I'm casting, I only need one. You only need one. And this young man walked in strong, quarterback of his team, a straight A student, and just hit it in the audition, just nailed it. And to his credit, I don't know if I told you this, Dana, maybe I did. He never told me that he was friends with Sanaya, who had done Fences.
Oh, wow.
He said he didn't want that to affect the audition or like seem like he was buddying up. And they're close friends and both acting partners. And she's wonderful in King Richard now. So, and then Dana, again, I only need one. We read, and it was difficult this to go around because of COVID. We had to do some things, just looking at videotapes and things. But I finally got in a room with about six or eight young ladies, maybe 10 young ladies, and you could see. And I couldn't send Shantae home. She just, I couldn't send her home because I'm looking for a reason to send people home. And I couldn't send her home. She just kept hanging around. So, excuse me. I got her on camera with Michael B, and you could see the chemistry. Excuse me. You could see the sparks. And so after the end of it, we had about 5 young ladies. And I asked Michael, I said, what do you think? He said, well, that's Shantae. I was into her and she was into me. I said, yeah, I can see that. But a woman of faith, a young woman of faith. Not to want to leave that out. Danny can tell you more about that than me, but a woman of faith from Detroit, tough, edgy, strong family, from a strong family and a God-fearing woman. And Jalen, as I said, he just came in, knocked it out the park like he did. When we shot that final scene that you see at the cemetery, we only had 9 hours because he's a young kid. You can't work them late. And he was building up and building up. I said, oh, we're going to get this. I said, let's bring this camera around this side and get this young boy. And he just brought it. And nobody, I didn't expect it. It really didn't happen in the audition. It's just, he's got the goods.
Now, in terms of building chemistry with the co-stars, what's the process? Do you sit down and they do a reading of everything? Do you storyboard in terms of your?
I leave them alone. We do those things and they read together and then they start doing their work. That's the actors' work. They probably got together and going out and talking and doing different things. But that you have to step back and let them do the work.
So let me now Virgil Williams, let me ask you this. In terms of the writing, what did you write and then later became improvisation on the set that just shifted? Was there a moment that said, okay, we wrote this is the script, but then something shifted in the process?
There were only little things, right, Dee? I mean, that was, y'all pretty much shot the script. I mean, there were little moments.
What time she said, I wanted something I wanted to make you work for it. Yep. And he said, well, now it's about to be your turn. And she said, well, lead the way. little things like that. So because you have to they have to be free. And it's only film. You can use it, not use it. It's not that precious. But there were those things that sometimes they improvised a little bit, but they pretty much stuck to the script. Virgil.
Pretty much. I mean, I look at my job as I'm an offensive lineman. So when I get on that script, I'm trying to create space so that everyone else can do their thing. So in those moments where there is improv, those make my heart soar because it means I created space. It means I inspired something in them that there's a certain point at which the scene begins to animate on its own. And that's when I feel like that's the magic stuff. That's the stuff that I go, that's why I'm doing this, because that's the crackle. So any of those little moments where they found those little lines, that moment's like you about to work too. That stuff just makes me happy.
Now I have to ask, Sister Canedy, seeing your character on screen, what was that like the first time?
I had gotten to know Mike and Shantae. They ask a lot of questions. I've been on set, talked to Denzel a lot, went through the script with Virgil. So I felt like I knew them all and that they were really invested in us as people, not just characters. And because of that, what translates in this movie is just a beautiful and accurate portrayal of our story and of us. And I have to tell you, there were times I felt like I was watching us, like somebody had turned a camera on us. There's a scene in the park where we took our baby when he came home to meet Jordan for the 2 weeks. We did all of that, and we did it almost in the exact same location. And it felt like somebody pulled out a video reel from 15 years ago and turned it on, and there we were. And that was a blessing, but it was hard. It made me miss him, some more. But all of this is just such a gift, and I'm grateful.
I always tell the young actors, especially playing a real person, it's about the spirit. You try to capture the spirit. Don't worry about imitation, but try to capture the spirit of Dana or the spirit of Charles. I tried to capture the spirit of Malcolm X. I'm not Malcolm X, but to try to capture that spirit and don't worry about the outside. Work on the inside. Work from the inside out.
I gotta say, if I might add, it's a testament to Dana's courage. It's a testament. The accuracy is a testament to Dana's courage. I mean, if she did not have the courage and the vulnerability and the availability to show us her whole self and the trust in me, and then of course Mr. Washington, it would have been impossible.
Thank you, Virgil.
Oh, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
It's a wonderful film. You all have done a tremendous job. And Shantae Adams, she there's a quote. I don't want to butcher the quote that she offered, but I believe she said, Brother Washington, that you told her the universe is specific. The universe is specific in terms of
universal.
Universal
is specific. Okay, so I didn't want to butcher it. I'm sorry.
Well, you as an actor, that's what you have to do. It's specific. Okay. It's specific beats in your work, and you never know what it's going to unlock. Without going into a long-winded thing, it's part of an actor's process to be specific about. Ask 1,000 questions. Well, what did you do? And then what time of day was it? And what did you eat? All of those kind of things. And you find the character through the specificity, and that's what they did.
That's a life lesson. I've taken that. That works for writing. That works. You can apply that. I call D the coach, not to his face, but so working with him is like, I can tell you a quick story with regard to the universal stems from the specific. He asked me where Dana lived. I said the Upper East Side. He said, where does she live? I was in an apartment on the Upper East Side. I've been there. No. Where does she live? I've been there. I'm going to find out. How could you have written this and you don't know her address? I'm going to get it. He goes, I'm listening. I hear you. I got it. I'm on it. And he goes, I know you are. And this man has raised 4 children. And he took on his energy, got very paternal. And he said, follow me. Because D was the only person I saw during the summer of 2020. I would be at the house of the family, and then we'd go, and I'd go to the house and we'd work. Right. And he walked me inside the house, and he took me to the library, and he pointed, and there's 2 Oscars. Oh my God. can I pick one up? He goes, pick them both up. People ask me where I keep my Oscar. I say right next to the other one. You remember this?
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
And then he said the universal stems from the specific. You have to know everything about these people, man. And then this man sat down and in a chair and went like this and said, action, as I'm holding his 2 Oscars. And he wouldn't move until I gave an Oscar speech.
That's for the one you didn't get with Mudbound.
There it is. There it is. And rehearsal for the one in the future.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I left that house floating. I tell that story. I share that story with kids that I mentor. I share that story with my own kids. And I was inspired. And he is the first man I've ever met that lifted me. And he elevated my craft in that moment with that phrase. So I had to tell that story because that's when I'm taken to the grave.
Oh, that's powerful. That is powerful. The collaboration that is very evident that happens that I'm hearing, just in this conversation. How do you build that kind of collaboration? For those who are listening, there are some artists who are actually on this webinar. There's some writers who are on this webinar who aspire to move in the spaces that you all move. How do you build that kind of collaboration? What are the values that you would pass on to them?
Don't give up. Don't give up. It's a process. I met Michael B. Jordan whenever Fruitvale Station was maybe 8, 9 years ago. That's when my producing partner, Todd, and I looked at him and thought about him for this film. So it was a long, or as Dana said, a 13-year process. But all the parts came together at the right time, and all the spirits were in line. It's no coincidence that we're all God-fearing people, and we're on that road to get. We were and are on that road together. So that I don't think that's a coincidence. God is
That's exactly right.
Yeah, he's all over this film, and it's been miracle after miracle. And I expect another one Christmas Day.
All right.
Trust too. Trust is a huge,
Absolutely.
I think, a cornerstone. When I met Dana and looked her in the eye, and I trusted her, and she trusted me.
Yes.
And of course, I trust Mr. Washington implicitly. I wouldn't know I could be out here at a certain level if it weren't for him.
Yeah. It's incredible because people kept warning me, oh my gosh, you turn your story over to Hollywood, it's not going to be good. They're ruthless, they're cutthroat, you're not going to recognize yourself. And I kept waiting for that, and it didn't happen. First,
Hollywood is a street in Los Angeles.
That's right.
People.
That is what I've learned through this process.
And I live in LA.
Yeah.
It's not like Hollywood gets together. And I know you know this, Dan. I'm not, saying that. But if people think like Hollywood gets together and we all talk and
That's right.
Yeah, it's
Tuesday at 6.
But
it's just
yeah. But I learned through this that what it is a collection of beautiful, talented people, and God chose each of us, and we had a different role to play. But we had a God-loving, God-fearing director, a woman who didn't come up with a traditional faith background, but grew in faith because of this man that I loved, who prayed every day, was the only man I'd ever dated that I felt comfortable praying with. And he taught me to grow in my faith. Then Virgil and Shantae, who's prayerful, and Mike. And, we trusted each other, we respected each other, we liked each other, and they took care of me because they knew I was very vulnerable going through this. When you're watching a scene in Arlington where the person you love is being memorialized over and over and over for 8 hours as part of a movie, I had nightmares after that. Or, when a screenwriter or director calls and says, tell me about your first kiss, or what color was his car in 2009 or what, when he was gone by then. But, these questions, it brought up a lot for me. Even the first time I saw the movie screened, I thought, wow, I did pretty well there. And then had nightmares a few nights later, but it was all worth it. Really, the bit of pain for the beauty of this movie and this process. And so I was willing to go through whatever I had to do to contribute what needed to be done to make this movie.
For each of you, what is your prayer for Journal for Jordan?
Denzel, do you want to start?
That it touches people, that it makes them think, that it's okay to believe, it's okay to have faith, it's okay to pray. As Charles said, it's okay for boys to cry, you know. And I don't want to, it's not a message film and lessons, but some of the lessons he's giving his son are lessons we all can use about how to treat a woman, how to be respectful, how to be a gentleman, how to be strong, what real strength is, what sacrifice is, what commitment is. And there are many 13-year-old boys and girls out there that need this, that may not have a Charles either, and may not have a Dana now to share that wisdom with. So I'm not trying to dump it all on the film, but the film has all of those lessons, if you will, for people. But it's also funny and sweet and sad and sometimes difficult, you know, but sounds like life, doesn't it?
Yes.
Hmm.
Denzel's been saying from the beginning that people will take from it what they need, depending on what they bring to it. I think that's exactly right. I don't, presume to know what folks will get out of it, but I do think there are some universal themes. And one of them that I'm very hopeful that people will take from it is that on the other end of tragedy, you can get back to a joyful life. When Charles died 15 years ago, I collapsed on a hardwood floor screaming. And I remember as I was on that floor screaming, the only other sound I heard was my baby crying. He was 6 months old. And I thought, how am I going to get off this floor? Like, I have to get off of this floor because he needs me. And eventually I did. And I thought, I don't know how we go on from this. I could never have dreamed that 15 years later, this would be my life filled with joy and love and, a village of beautiful people around me and the country and the world embracing our story. I'm getting hugs from people all over the country, having a beautiful session like this with all of you. I could have never imagined that 15 years ago when I was laying on that floor. And so by the grace of God, in time and with a lot of prayers for me from strangers and people close to me, we got through. And so I hope one of the things that comes through in this movie is that, yes, there are hard moments in it, but as Denzel said, it's also funny. And I think it's uplifting and speaks to the resilience of the human spirit if you hold on to your faith. And also that love is everlasting. Charles isn't here, but I feel his love all around me all the time.
That's the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Is that love. That's what I tell my children. I say that everything dies except love. That's the one thing that lives forever. I think that's important. I think that's vitally important. And it's a lot of what I was saying earlier, love now and have the courage to do it and spread it far and wide. Because that's where the gold is. There's a speech at the end of the film that I just rewrote and then took pieces of Dana's book and just, but it talks about living below your neck and in your heart. And it talks about how it's impossible. We talk about how it's impossible without pain. It's impossible to find the joy, and courage. For me, it's about have the courage to love.
It's Virgil, you remind me of something else that I've said to a lot of people. I speak around the country about the book and about resilience. And I remember in the early days of my grief, because the first few years of my son's life, I was grieving and barely holding on. And I remember somebody said, "Oh my gosh, you're so strong. You're going to work, you're raising this child." And I got frustrated because I was feeling weak and I was feeling broken. And I got so frustrated. And then until this person said to me, "You don't have to feel strong to be strong." And sometimes all you can do is just hold on and keep doing the best you can to take care of yourself until this wave passes over you, because life is cyclical. And as you all know better than I do, some of you, change will happen and change will come, and God will help you through.
Every storm runs out of rain.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. Yes, yes, indeed. Now, I want to ask this is switching gears again. So here's this different question that we have here. Music is a wonderful thing. It blesses us in many ways. If there was a song or a particular artist who particularly describes you, what song would that be? Or what artist embodies you?
For me, it depends on the day of the week. I'm actually gonna look at my playlist because boy, that's a tough one. V, you take that first while I look at my playlist.
I gotta think on that one.
Good. What'd you say, Virgil?
I said, I gotta think about that one. That's a big question.
Every day going to work, I on my computer, I was the DJ in the car, and we just listen to so much inspirational music. Is it Kayla Richardson? I think it is. So good, and just one song after. And I heard a beautiful Christmas song today, CeeLo Green's.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And I find songs. Oh, the group Fire, Jesus Will Fix It. That's been that was my theme song throughout the whole movie. He said, "Whatever you're going through." No, I can't sing, but let me stay in my lane. But yeah, you're moved by music, and I used music purposely in the film to help identify time. You know, we were pretty true to the time. You know, the way we use the music, and also, you know, Charles liked them oldies and goodies like me, you know, so we went and found the spinners. I put Sadie in there. I said, oh, this would be right up his alley, some Sadie.
Classic right
or
there.
did you tell me he listened? Did you tell me he listened to that, Dana?
He did.
Okay.
And he loved all those oldies. But to your question, Stand, BB Winans, that's it.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right.
I love that. I love when I'm feeling low. I love Jesus Take the Wheel. Carrie Underwood. That song, Jesus Take the Wheel, epitomizes everything. You know, she's driving on a road with her baby, hits ice, can't stop the car, and just throws up her hands and says, Jesus Take the Wheel. I think that says it all. So those would be the songs for me.
I think Blue and Green, there's a song called Blue and Green by Miles Davis and John Coltrane.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, that song, you can listen to that song when you're down. And you can listen to that song when something good has happened and you're feeling good about it. That I'm gonna think of 5 more the second the Zoom ends, but that would have to be my answer.
Well, I also been playing Denise Williams' God is Truly Amazing since 1977. I got it on here right now. Since 1977, I've been playing. I don't know how many years that is, but I love that one.
Now, as writers and artists, for those who are listening on this webinar, who are the people that inspire you? Writers, like they need to have them in their library. If they want to be, they're aspiring writers. Who are 3 that they need to have, they need to study, they need to read? For those who seek to be directors or to move into the field of acting, who do they need to read? Who do they need to study?
Wow, well, you can start with August Wilson.
Come on.
That's pretty good. Uta Hagen is a great book for actors, Respect for Acting. I would say those 2 for acting, definitely Respect for Acting.
For screenwriting, there's a great book by a man named Christopher Vogler called The Writer's Journey. And it's an excellent template. It's sort of, it's a way to sort of illustrate what the notes are to use, as it were, because there's only, there's a finite set of notes and every story has the same components essentially that make it move forward. And that's a fantastic book to use to be able to identify what the parts of the engine are so that you can put it together how you want to, so that you can redesign it and infuse your own voice into it. That book helped me a lot.
Dana?
Well, not as it relates to movie making, but in general, Toni Morrison, anything by Toni Morrison, um, James Baldwin, and I would say for me, Bob Woodward.
All right.
And anything that stirs your soul, anything that makes you, anything you just like, you know, and he has nothing to do with screenwriting, but I like to read Pablo Neruda because he's nice with the words, you know. So
Oh, wonderful poet. He does a great job. Yeah. And we'll put links in the conversation when it's placed on social media to those books that you all mentioned. I want to again thank you all for this conversation. I want to thank you for creating Journal for Jordan. It is a beautiful movie, and I know people will be blessed by it. So on Christmas Day, everyone who's on this webinar, you make sure you go out, but also make sure you post on social media about Journal for Jordan. After you see it, go ahead and hit the hashtag and let people know how you've been blessed by the film. But there's one other thing that we want to do before we completely close out. We want to share the trailer for Journal for Jordan with everyone who is with us on this webinar. So I'm going to turn it over to our media team.
What's this?
It's a journal, so you can write to your son.
What do I write?
Tell him who you are, what you believe in, and tell him you love him.
Dear Jordan, the moment I met your mother, I knew she was the one.
He is not exactly my type.
When you try your best, but you don't succeed. And after some convincing, she fell for me too. I think you are beautiful. When you get what you want, but not what you need. But I want to see more of your city.
I want to see more of your city. I'll take your state, your zip code.
Real love takes sacrifice. We can make this work. Then you came into our lives, and you were a blessing.
How come you barely ever talk about him?
I think about him all the time.
Always be courageous in everything you do, but never be afraid to cry. I pray I don't run out of time. I love you.
I was just thinking that if you need sex just to help you get through it.
Stop. Then I don't want another woman. I hope you don't expect me to extend that same offer because you better keep that locked up.
Exclusively in movie theaters this Christmas.
Again, I want to thank you all for being with us this evening. I want to thank everyone on our webinar. We had an incredible amount of people who signed up, and we had to cut it off just to get about 3,000 people just to join us this evening. And so we are so blessed by the work that you have done together collectively. And we just want to have a word of prayer as we close out, and let us go again to God at this moment. Gracious and most merciful God, may your light shine through this work to bless those across this nation through Journal for Jordan. We thank you for the artistry, the gifts of all of those who worked in this collaboration, and may your spirit rest. We thank you and we honor you and we give you all of the glory. In your Son's name we pray, amen. Thank you all for being with us tonight. It has been such a blessing and an absolute honor to have this conversation with all of you. And so I look forward when we are not in the midst of this pandemic, where we would be able to have conversation in person, but it's certainly been a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.